Good afternoon, friends. I welcome you all to this press conference on Union Budget 25-26. My warm welcome to Honorable Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji at this briefing on budget. I extend a warm welcome to Honorable Minister of State for Finance Shri Pankaj Chaudhary ji, Finance and Revenue Secretary Shri Tuhin Kant Pandey ji, Secretary Economic Affairs Shri Ajay Seth ji, Secretary Expenditure Dr. Manoj Govil, Secretary Deepam Dr. Arunish Chawla, Secretary Financial Services Shri M. Nagaraju, and Chief Economic Advisor Dr. V. Anantha Nagevswaran. Yesterday we did it. Friends, first the Honorable Finance Minister will make her opening remarks. Thereafter, we will take questions. I request all of you to follow the point of order. It would be very nice if each of you asking a question may restrict to one question at one go. This will ensure that all other your friends may get chance. Please introduce yourself and organization before asking the question. Over to Honorable Finance Minister.
Thank you, and good evening to all of you all. I'm happy to be here talking about today's budget. The budget actually says several things about our path towards Vikasit Bharat. It has invested in agriculture. It has certainly looked at rural prosperity, focuses on urban development, particularly looking at urban workers, and continues to lay emphasis on reforms. 6 specified sectors have been identified, and I spoke about it in the budget. Sectors in which we will continue our reform agenda. All this, even as we have continuously been engaged with the stakeholders, and interest of education and health has been prioritized. When we're talking about education, from a child in a daycare center, portion for women, lactating mothers, till the level of getting skilling done, and also for artificial intelligence and digital reading material for students and in school and colleges. Every aspect of education, and bringing in that dimension which is so critical for health. Daycare, cancer centers, and making sure more medical seats are available. These are kind of things with which I'm trying to highlight. The approach in this budget has been pointed on areas which definitely need immediate intervention, outlays, and action along with the states. So Vikasit Bharat is not just being described. I've given you also what we mean by Vikasit Bharat, or what is it that we expect to achieve for Vikasit Bharat. So this budget actually has given you several things on which you can understand how this economy is being planned to take forward a route towards Vikasit Bharat. Secretaries have joined me. All of them would also come in to explain or answer and give clarity and so on. But one thing which I certainly would like to highlight is responding to the voice of the people, which is what Prime Minister Modi is known for in his administration. It's a very responsive government. And as a result, the income tax simplification, which I announced in July, is already completed in its works, and we shall bring the bill in the next week. So the income tax simplification, about which in July budget I haven't gone in detail to say, the work is completed within 6 months is what I said. Within 6 months we've brought the bill. It'll be coming into the parliament next week. So if we are talking of reform inclusive of taxation, the work is done. This budget also speaks about rationalization in customs. Tariffs are being brought down, tariffs are being simplified, and also the basket which consisted of so many different tariffs for so many different commodities are now reduced. 8 were taken off earlier, 8 has been taken off now. So whatever remains now, 7 I think remains, and that is all about India's tariff picture. So the usual narrative which goes on, saying is India being too heavy on tariffs? No, you find that we've drastically reduced and also simplified. So this budget has so many things for all of us to talk about. The more important thing about agriculture, which performed very well during COVID and which has contributed to India's food security, the proposals which are mentioned in this budget actually talk about everything to do with beej to bazaar, literally from the stage of seeds, hybrid seeds, climate resilient seeds, seeds which can give greater output, seeds which are going to be high yielding, all this together to the final point of India becoming the world's food basket. That's the definition I put in when I was talking about Vikasit Bharat. So we are making sure that India's agriculture gets the support across the board, whether it is on seeds, whether it is for skilling the farmers, whether it is rural prosperity, whether it is going to have agriculture and allied industries being set up in rural areas, and whether it is going to be farmers getting better and more loan with interest subvention, not just farmers, fishermen, and also dairy, meaning animal husbandry. So the picture for rural development and the picture for supporting agriculture is across the board, and that has been narrated. The second thing which I would want to highlight is the continued emphasis that we're giving since vote on account budget, July budget, and now on the MSMEs, whether it is giving them sovereign guaranteed loan, whether it is support during COVID, whether the definition being changed now for better, more inclusive growth in MSMEs, access to bank credit. So MSMEs have also been given greater emphasis. Together with this, I'd like to highlight the point that energy security has had greater attention in this budget. We've highlighted in July budget how even pump storage will have greater attention. Solar and wind and renewable energy has also been taking consistently good importance in our budgets. This time we are talking about the small modular reactors. I've also announced that there shall be 2 amendments, one to the Atomic Energy Act and the other one for the civil liability. All of this is going to help us attain energy security. Insurance sector's FDI limits have been enhanced. That is another important announcement. I'll end my opening statement with 2 things. There is no reduction in the public spending on capital expenditure. Let's put that up front. We continue to place emphasis on the multiplier effect that capital expenditure done by government has shown, has sustained us. We continue on that. And with all this, our fiscal prudence has aligned itself to the glide path that we announced in 2020-21. So we've kept ourselves in alignment. Fiscal prudence has been maintained. And the next year, coming years, estimate is also been given. Well under 4.5 is what we had said earlier. We are also projecting the same. So this is just as an opening statement. There's a lot more to say, but as you all ask questions, so shall we answer. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. 225. 225. Mike.
Ma'am, this is Shrimi Chaudhary. Comments on that?
Yes. And then it will come back to us, and if necessary, any more amendments, if need to be brought in, we'll bring it in and take it forward in the House.
So do we expect implementation in this, in the fiscal year, in FY26?
Do you expect what?
Do we expect the implementation? Or
Well, let it get passed. I hope it will get passed without much of a difficulty, but it is only after it's passing.
Sure. Thank you.
35. Front.
Ma'am, Timsi Jaipuria, this side from CNBC TV 18. Uh, as you said, this is a very responsive government, which is why government decided to give these tax rebates. But given the structure that you have announced, ma'am, 12 up to 12 lakh is the rebate. Do you any reason why this rebate has been hiked from 7 to 12 lakh? Is it that the incomes or salaries were not growing up to the mark, which is why government thought that this rebate needs to be given? And also, how do you make up for this 1 lakh crore of revenue loss? Will it not impact the budget estimates? Where will you get this money from?
Tipsy, I think the first question is, you said that this, when the incomes are not growing. This is an income tax. Only when there is an income, then we are talking of the tax. So income has to grow to the level to discuss about the tax. Now, why from 7 to 12 lakh? It is something like, it was earlier 2.2 lakhs. When 2014, it became 2.5 lakh, nobody is going to pay tax. Then there was a 2019 that, we said 5 lakhs, nobody is going to pay tax. Then we said it was raised to 7 lakhs. And now it's being raised to 12 lakhs. So this is a perception that the government feels that, on the average 1 lakh per month, if you have, then you need not pay tax, which means that, we are doing it in two ways. One is we are reducing the slab rates. We are expanding the slabs. If you would have noticed, the slabs are now 0 to 4, 4 to the uniform slabs, and there is a gradualism. There was a thing when we had earlier 20%, then it was jumping to 30%. Now it is 20, we have introduced 25 also. So it's the gradual thing which has been done. Now this benefits every one of the taxpayers, because whatever benefits which has come from the slabs gets transmitted across. So therefore everyone gets a benefit. Now the second part, FM decided that, well, some people should get a little more benefit than merely slab rate reduction would have given. And so therefore an extra rebate. So slab rate reduction for everyone, and extra rebate for 7 lakhs were already getting it, now 7 to 5 lakhs more people have been added. So this is the philosophy behind it. And as you said, why you do it, I think we expect that all that money which they gave, it comes back to the economy in either consumption, savings, or investments, in whatever way they choose to do.
I just want to add to that. If you compare what we've done today with what prevailed in 2014 under the Congress government, what we are, most often the narrative is comparison for your consideration. In Congress, for somebody who's earning 8 lakhs, nearly 1 lakh more money is in their pockets today because of their, meaning, routine. All right, did I stop it there? As everybody is getting back down. Them in 2014, them now it is only 3 lakhs. The rate change has benefited somebody who earns 24 lakh as well. So 2.6 lakh rupees more in the pocket of people who are earning 0.6 lakh rupees more in the pocket of people who are earning 24 lakh. So it is not just those who are up to 12 lakh, because they are not paying any tax at all, because rebate is given to make up for the tax amount which they have to pay. It is not just up to 12 lakh. Even for others, benefit is accruing, and compared to what it was in 14, that much amount of money is going back to those respective money earners. Just compare it with 24 tax rates, which is prevailing now, and what is being proposed. I would like to draw the comparison. 8 lakh people, meaning those who are earning 8 lakhs. 30,000 rupees more is being put back into their pockets, meaning they would be paying 30,000 in the prevailing tax, 8 lakh salaried wale. Now they pay 0 in the new proposal. Similarly, 12 lakh salary or income wale would have 80,000 rupees tax to pay in the current prevailing taxation rates. They would have 80,000 rupees now go back to their pockets. They don't have to pay that tax. Go to the 24 lakh and compare with the present rates. Present prevailing rate, they have to pay 4.1 lakh rupees as tax. We are saying now they will have 110 lakh in their pockets, which they don't have to pay as tax. So we have put good substantial amounts into the pockets of people who deserve to get that. And I would want that to be highlighted compared to what prevailed in 14 and what prevails just this year.
3. Yeah, 3 number.
Ma'am, many congratulations. Something that has been quoted to you as well as the Prime Minister and yesterday the Chief Economic Advisor hinted, in terms of disinvestment and where you should not get into, government. You yourself have been talking from 2020, 21 and subsequently, government should be in less spaces. Has it been a strategy? Because I know you're committed to it, but last budget you didn't refer to it. This budget you have not referred to it. The target still remains there. Is there any impetus that you're going to do towards what has already been announced by the budget? For example, bank privatization of banks and others. That's one. And the second because that was unanswered, you're making it simpler, the income tax, and bringing a thing. Does this mean that you can now not necessarily all the time you can do it through a schedule or an executive order if you want to give some relief to a common man in the new income tax bill that you bring in?
No, giving relief any time will have to go to the parliament, because if we are giving fiscal, relief to people, it has to have approval from the parliament.
So you're
But
not-
what the tax simplification really means is the complication in the language, the circuitous way in which they were explaining things, and adding too many exemptions. You will realize that when we brought in the new tax regime, we didn't want the old tax regime imitated or copied. In that, there are several exemptions given in the old regime. In the new, we didn't want to give any, because we wanted a simple, straightforward tax regime in which the rates can be brought down. That's what we've done even now. So the act itself had to be simplified. The attempt now is that.
And on the disinvestment and
No, all that will continue. There won't be a relenting on any of this.
On disinvestment, ma'am, if I can add, you see, the last time July also the similar questions were asked. We have actually since then a value creation strategy, which was actually well explained at that time also. There is no disinvestment target per se. Disinvestment and dividend are both looked at together because both are money and money is fungible. And it has got 5 elements. The first element is that we are saying CPSC's performance. The second is we say that we should have communication of performance. The third we say that the capex of the CPSC, which is important, as you know, in terms of accelerating growth. The fourth is the consistent dividend policy. And the fifth is there is a calibrated disinvestment strategy. And the disinvestment also is there. The listing is a part of disinvestment itself. So if you really look at it, both dividend and disinvestment is about 80 to 90,000 crore per annum are being raised, but in a manner which are beneficial to the minority shareholders who are there in all our listed companies.
65. Backside.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Ruchi Bhatia from Bloomberg News. I have a question for the Revenue Secretary and a question for you. If the Revenue Secretary can give us details on the benefits, the number of people who will benefit from the slab, from the rebates going up from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs. And the question for you, Madam Finance Minister, a lot of people say that while the absolute number for CAPEX has gone up, the pace of spending has gone down as compared to a few years ago. Is it telling of the institutional capacity in terms of how much CAPEX push can the government really do? And secondly, as far as a lot of analysts do say that the multiplier that CAPEX has is a lot more than the multiplier in the economy than that tax cuts have. What would you, say to like some of those concerns as well?
Well, 1 crore people will not benefit between the 7 lakh and 12 lakhs.
Meaning 1 crore more people will pay no tax. On the capex, I think there are two things playing out. One, of course, this particular year has had the elections happening, and because of that, both central government and state governments were catching up with investments, public spending on investments only from the second and the third quarter, so it showed. It's equally true that when fundamental requirements are taken care of, when you're bringing in additional overhead, there is a pace at which those additions happen. So it's not as if there is no thirst for capital expenditure, but now it'll be at a pace in which you can build on each one of the developments that you've done prior. So it'll continue. There are some departments which will need more. There are others who would probably reach a plateau, but expenditure will have to continue even in them. So the heads where the capital expenditure will happen will vary, but expenditure will happen in building assets.
121.
No, capex is also continuing. I have not foregone capex to give for revenue expenditure or consumption expenditure. So both continue. Ajay.
Look at what the overall numbers are. Even in the coming year, the next year, effective capital expenditure, including what Government of India provides to state for their capital expenditure, is 4.3% of the GDP, one of the highest. It's not just what Government of India departments spend, it is the total money which goes for the capital expenditure. And if you look at that compared with this year's RE, there will be 20% increase. If you look B to B, still there will be a 10% increase. And it is not a capacity issue, it is a new sectors coming up. For example, if you notice, urban sector, the allocations are increasing. That's one area which requires a renewed focus.
121.
On the capex, because this point can come up later also. So one is the capex that we give directly, that is we do as central government directly. Other is that grants that we give to the state governments, for the state governments to do capex. For example, for Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, for example, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and so on and so forth. So if you also include the grants and aid for creation of capital assets, the amount, total amount has gone up to 15.48 crores in the budget estimate for the next year, which is more than 15% increase over the current year's RE. So that is a substantial increase, whereas you consider that the overall expenditure, that is revenue plus capital, has grown by around 7% in the next financial year as compared to this year's RE. So this is almost twice the aggregate growth in the expenditure.
Yes. I would like to also add that on top of this 15 lakh crore capex, which is 11.2 there, and the extra money which goes into revenue but goes in capital building at the hand of the states, the CPSC, the Central Public Sector Enterprises, add about 4 lakh crore as capex from their own resources. So that's also the capex which goes in, and that is not counted here.
Mic on. तरुण शर्मा फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस। मैम मेरे दो सवाल हैं। एक, मैम आपने इंश्योरेंस की जो एफडीआई लिमिट है वो 74 से 100% करिए, तो क्या मैम जो इंश्योरेंस अमेंडमेंट बिल था उसकी जो बाकी रिकमेंडेशन है उसको रिजेक्ट किया गया है, सिर्फ इसी को एक्सेप्ट किया है 74 से 100% का? दूसरा मैम, मूडीज़ ने कहा है कि जो पब्लिक डेट है स्टेट और सेंट्रल का वो अभी भी 80% है, इस वजह से हम रेटिंग अपग्रेड इस बजट के अनाउंसमेंट के हिसाब से नहीं कर सकते। तो डू यू थिंक इज देयर कंसर्न फॉर द ऑन द public debt?
Insurance? Yeah. See, now, presently the insurance is 74%. Now, fundamentally, whether it's 74% or 100%, the material doesn't matter. But what actually matters is the psychological feeling that they can actually own the company 100%. Along with this FDI, we are also going to, FM also announced that we are going to simplify certain procedures and rules that we frame, which is including the key management person who can be chairman of the company, and person who can be the CEO and board of directors, and also repatriation of dividends. All those are part of this the proposed reforms that has been announced by the FM today.
And sir, what about the other recommendation on the draft insurance amendment bill, sir?
That's what we are actually bringing. The draft insurance bill is the one FM has announced. But the main point she has mentioned that 100% FDI, including simplification of existing rules for FDI investing, is coming.
Yes. And then the public debt, ma'am, on the public.
Serial number 2.
Finance Minister has also announced, just answer complete his question, the roadmap for fiscal consolidation by the center. And please have a look at the FRBM statement, which carries the different scenarios. And over a period of next 6 years, how that will be brought down. Similar one, act has to be done through the state governments as well. So it is a process which is on.
Number 2.
हेलो नमस्कार मैम, मैं आलोक प्रियदर्शी हूँ CNBC आवाज़ से। मैम मेरा सवाल है कि मिडिल क्लास के लिए काफ़ी बड़ी राहत है, 12 लाख तक जो टैक्स छूट दी गई है। इसमें आपने बजट स्पीच में कहा जो कैपिटल गेन से लोग कमाई करेंगे उसको इसमें शामिल नहीं किया गया, उस पर नॉर्मली टैक्स देना पड़ेगा जो स्लैब के रेट से है। तो ज़्यादातर लोग आजकल मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, उनको लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है, उनको कैपिटल गेन्स होते हैं कई तरह से, उनको बाहर रखने का, उनको केप्ट असाइड रखने का क्या रीज़न है, क्या उसके पीछे वजह बताएं?
रेवेन्यू सेक्रेटरी उसके ऊपर ज्यादा विस्तार से बोलेंगे। बाहर रखने वाले चीज नहीं है, इनकम का कैलकुलेशन कभी भी वैसे ही होता है, उसमें कैपिटल गेन्स का जोड़ते नहीं है। मैं स्पष्टता के लिए उसको जोड़ रखा है उधर सेंटेंस पढ़ने के समय। ये नया मेरा पद्धति नहीं है कि इसको अलग रखो उसको अलग। इनकम कैलकुलेशन इन जनरल इज डन विदाउट द कैपिटल गेन्स। यू वांट टू एक्सप्लेन इट प्लीज?
कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स जो है वो हमेशा से रेट से अलग है, नॉर्मल इनकम से अलग है। यदि नॉर्मल इनकम में होता, शामिल होता, तो यदि 30% के ब्रैकेट में कोई होता तो उसके कैपिटल गेन्स में 30% टैक्स लगता, तो वो क्या मान्य होता? तो कैपिटल गेन्स को एक अलग टैक्स की व्यवस्था की गई है जो कि कम है। वो इसलिए की गई है कि रिस्क उसमें है और उसमें लोग रिटर्न करते हैं कैपिटल मार्केट को बढ़ावा देने के लिए, तो उसमें 12.5% हमने टैक्स लगाया। तो वो एक अलग रखा हो तो वो 20% होता है। तो वो इनकम की व्यवस्था है जो कि स्लैब रेट और उससे काउंट होती है, तो इसलिए वो अलग ही है। कंफ्यूजन ना हो इसलिए वित्त मंत्री जी ने स्पष्ट उसको कर दिया था स्पीच में, क्योंकि ये कंफ्यूजन की संभावना थी।
46।
Hello ma'am, Harsh Kumar from Business Standard newspaper. Ma'am, since government has decided to move ahead with a comprehensive asset monetization plan, if you can give some broader aspects of it in detail.
See, as we are aware that till the last year, the first program which was launched in 2021, achievements have been of the order of about 90%, which is a good progress. Based on that success is the next leap, almost double the amount which are coming up. And there are newer asset classes will also be come up. For example, transmission assets, and not just of the Government of India. Government of India doesn't own, say, Power Corporation, Power Transmission Corporation, but state government's assets are also there. So they will do the monetization, and you will hear very soon that entire plan will be out.
Sir, can we, in future, can we get a separate number of asset monetization and disinvestment?
See, this money, what the intent is, there's already an investment or rather the assets are there, which may be owned by Government of India, which may be owned by, say, NHAI, or they may be owned by one of the PSUs. They disinvest, not disinvest, they monetize that asset and use that money to build a fresh or a new project and a new asset, plow back that money back into the economy. So these are not necessarily money coming to Consolidated Fund of India. Very rarely the money comes in. NHAI doesn't invest, money remains with them, they build another road by using that money.
13.
Hi ma'am, good afternoon. I am Kriti, I'm from Informist Media. So right now you just said that your fiscal prudence has finally aligned with your glide path that you had announced in FY21. This year you have given a new roadmap, so mentioned debt to GDP roadmap. You aim to bring down your debt to GDP ratio to 49 to 51% by FY31. considering the nominal GDP would be in the range of 10 to 11. So based on that, and you said that you will peg your fiscal deficit in a way that it goes on to bring down your debt to GDP ratio. So is there a rough estimation of what kind of fiscal deficit you may have by FY31? And secondly, on 31, when you aim to bring down your debt to GDP ratio. Secondly, on funding of fiscal deficit for the next fiscal year, you have brought down the borrowing from small savings from considerably low. It's 16% low from last year. Is there any reason for the limited optimism? Earlier, it used to finance 25% of your deficit. Now it's going to finance 22% of your deficit. So if you could just elaborate on if there is any reason for that. Thank you.
First of all, that what is going to be the fiscal deficit in nth year from now? The path is very clear that debt to GDP ratio will be on a declining path, depending upon what the growth rate in the economies are, what kind of a stimulus measure or a further consolidation measures would be needed. And the roadmap does envisages three scenarios: mild, moderate, and high level of consolidation. So do your maths there, that the range is coming up. In the best case scenario, the highest growth rate and highest level consolidation can go as low as 47.5%. Very low growth rate, etc., it comes to 52. What the goal is taken is 50 plus minus 1%, and that's showing that physical response to needs of the economy. So that is the goal, but overall trend has to be declining trend. And just see the record. 2021, Finance Minister announced will come down to 4.5 next year. This year we are 4.8, next year is 4.4. So it is a track record, that's what we follow. Your next question. If you notice, in the last 2 to 2.5 years are being set in a manner so that there's neither an incentive nor a small savings. These are the numbers where we see the trend, and based on the trend we project it. What is being overall is being monitored and watched or said is the overall fiscal deficit, overall borrowing. This is coming from the small savings, more will be from the market. So our assessment, market borrowings we have indicated, which will be slightly less than the current year numbers, marginally lower are there. But if there were to be more inflow of small